The Angels 2014. The Angels world champions. Oh, and first pitch crushing.
It's recording right now. Yeah. All right. Hey, welcome into another episode of Halos in the Infield, the podcast forum with your host, Todd Fox, and the other host of the show,
Fernando Mendez, Viva Los Angelitos.
We have a special guest here today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, what's up, everybody? This is Dominick Lorenzen, formerly of Halos Heaven. Yes, if you followed us online or on Twitter, that used to be us, but now that SB Nation cut us away and said adios, we're now creating our new blog site, Katella Chronicles. It covers the Angels and the Ducks. I'm the co-founder and editor, as well as we have four other contributors. That will be Cole Bailey, David Goodkind, Taylor Array, and Ariana Evans. We are the Katella Chronicles, and we talk Angels and Ducks. And it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be on with you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on, Dominic. And, this is cool about, Katella Chronicles. Merging the Angels and Ducks as awesome as that is. Sorry, the Ducks are on their way up, and they're young, they're youthful. They're going to be a fun team to watch coming up here in the off season when the Angels aren't playing. So that helps with the off season. So we see that little the Katella Chronicles, the street going between the two stadiums for those that don't know. But Angels are playing great right now, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be focused on that today. Fernando, what are we going to get into on the show today?
Well, we're going to probably talk about the fact that the Angels should have swept the A's.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of positive to take away from this series. And honestly, there's even some positive to take away from the loss. I mean, if we use a mulligan there on Reisel's inning, we're still talking about a great game. We're potentially talking about Anthony Rendon's best series of the season. I understand that's not too bold of a claim because he's had a pretty rough season with the stick so far. But we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about the Rangers series, what's to come, the probable pitchers, and a lot more.
There you go. So my first question is, what happened on Game 1 in Oakland? We're going to review that one, unless you have any opening statements besides the introductions.
I don't.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Let's get some meat and potatoes because there's a lot to talk about. Let's talk Game 1 of Oakland and Angels here.
So Chase Silseth, and then was it Jeremy Jeffries?
Yes.
Or Dalton Jeffries of the Oakland A's. Those two boys got the start. Silseth made his MLB debut. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. There's a lot to unpack with his start. He's the first pitcher from the 20 pitchers drafted last season to make his major league debut. Of course, only 19 of them signed with the Angels, but I don't think any of us would have predicted that he would have been the first one to make their Angels debut, right? Did anybody have Chase on their bingo card?
If I did, I'd be going to Vegas and trying to get $1 million at this point. Like Silseth, good kid, but who knew?
Absolutely. And this is a guy that we were under the impression of maybe Bachman or, another pitcher, Kai Bush. But no, he steamrolled through the minors and he caught the eye of everyone, including Perry. And they were like, give this dude a shot. And so as Angels fans, I want to ask you, Dominic, since you're new to the show and your opinion on this, given the last few years where the rotation's been bargain basement at best, no really good guys coming through the system. To see what Perry has done in just a little bit of time and to see a pitcher that we just drafted last year come with the stuff that he's got, how impressed were you with not only him, but Jonathan Diaz as well?
I think we need to take a moment here and give a round of applause for Perry Manassian. He's the first GM in recent, 10-year GMs to say he's going to address the pitching, and then he actually does address the pitching. Come on, last year, 20 draft picks, 19 college pitchers, 1 high school pitcher. And now they're going to the Perry School of Pitching, and look at what the Angels are doing right now. You got Jonathan Diaz, who has now pitched 2 great games for the Angels, and Silseth delivered. Can you not tell me that splitter looked downright nasty Friday night against Oakland?
Yep.
That thing had
We're talking
movement.
Ohtani caliber.
You're talking Ohtani, and he's flashing, mid-90s fastball, which I know in the era of baseball we are living in right now, it's velocity or nothing. If you're not throwing above 97, 98, they really don't look at you. Even though Silseth doesn't throw, those flame-throwing 100-mile-an-hour pitches, he's a dynamic arm. We have Bachman, we have Bush, and even there's a lot of guys lower in the system, Tri-City, Inland Empire, that are getting the job done. So I think I love what Perry Manassian has done with this rotation. I know we'll probably talk about the rest of the Angels rotation here in the podcast, but
Absolutely.
Silseth, if that's what we're getting from this recent crop of draftees, I'm liking where the Angels are going. This could be a team in the future, if not in the present future, if that's even a phrase these days, that this could be a pitching franchise. And then with the offense that the Angels have, Trout, Ohtani, when Rendon's hot, Walsh, this is a deadly organization in the near future. I'm telling you that right now.
Great take. Love that. Guy, this is a guy who's barely old enough to drink. Just to put it in perspective, this guy is 21 years old and is pitching with the best of them. He had confidence. For a guy making his major league debut, it's not even the fact that it was his major league debut. This was really one of his first professional appearances, right? I mean, he didn't have very much seasoning down there in Rocket City. It's not like we're talking about a whole year. Exactly. We're not talking about a full year of seasoning down there. We're talking about barely over a month of seasoning down there, a month worth of games at least. And he came up here and he looked confident. I don't care if this is a depleted, watered-down version of the Athletics. This is still a guy making his major league debut. There's butterflies involved with that, right? You're playing in a huge stadium with nobody in it. That's also got to be nerve-wracking. So the fact that he was able to
13,000 fans were in Oakland. That's like 11,000. That's 10 or 11,000 more than they had 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay. There's AAA teams that are selling out over Oakland. Let's put that into perspective.
Adam the Woo was there. Who else do you need at the game? But yeah, dude, Chase looked great. He looked really good. He looked comfortable. I really liked what I saw. Hey, and you can't impress everybody. You saw how the question of the day was, Todd. You saw the response we got there.
Yeah, Fernando put up a question of the day. Who was more impressive, Diaz or Silseth? And everyone went Silseth because he was flashy. He had the pinpoint control, the changing of the speeds. But I kind of argued the point that, hey, we saw, in front of a full house, Diaz not crap the bed, and he pitched really good against Washington, and then had a second good start. So it's like he's only going 4 and 2/3 or 1/3, whatever he did. But I still think that he's pitching impressive. How many rookies have we brought up in the past, and then they just crap the bed right away, or their confidence goes down, or they have issues? These guys are coming up with a mentality of, I've got to better the next guy. Competition's good. I want to hit my spots. They're aggressive. I don't know if you feel the same way, Dominick, but I think Matt Wise plays a big part of this. He got the interim removed for a reason, right?
Yeah, last year was, let's be real, was a crapshoot year, unfortunately, with Trout going down and the plethora of injuries that the Angels had to endure. But you do see Matt Wise take the interim name off his title, and he brings that swagger, even though he's kind of at least in the dugout, he looks like a quiet, neat guy, does his business, goes in, goes out. He's kind of a 9-to-5 worker, clock in, clock out. But there's so much depth that he has provided with these pitchers, not only at the big league level, but it's trickled down out of the minor league system. And it's not just the pitching that you're seeing this from. You're seeing it from the offense as well. If Trout homers, Taylor Ward's going to try to up him. If Taylor Ward doesn't, now Ohtani's going to try.
Yep.
So it's not just pitching. Pitching is going to be, of course, the focal point, because we all should be buckling our seatbelts, because Angels have pitching. We haven't seen this in decades now. So we should be enjoying this a little bit, which we are.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Just going back, last year's ERA, we were at 5.54. And now through the regular season right now, combined bullpen and starters, we're about at a 250. ERA. That's incredible for this team to even think that we're one of the top best rotations in bullpen in baseball. But me and Fernando always have been saying the last couple of years, especially, we've been really hard on Paul Sorrento and Jeremy Reed, the hitting instructors. We feel that they're not as hands-on as Matt Wise has, because you could look between innings and you see Matt Wise constantly talking with a starting pitcher, constantly talking with a bullpen guy. If a bullpen guy gets any kind of pressure on him, boom, he's out there with a catcher. That's the kind of stuff, and they're reviewing what they did and did not do right or wrong. That's the kind of hands-on thing we hadn't seen here in a while. So, right, Fernando, there's a stark difference between the hitting instructors and the pitching, in our opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like what I've seen out of Matt Wise, and I wasn't exactly sold on him last year. I don't think many of us Angels fans were, but obviously, it's fair to say we were wrong at this point. Matt Wise seems to be doing a great job with the staff. Even the catching is doing a great job with the staff, right? They're making these guys look like all-stars. We can't underestimate the catching this year. We know Stassi is a good defensive catcher, but now you have these other guys stepping up who most people didn't even know existed. Obviously we knew about Kurt Suzuki, but
But Chad Wallach and Austin Romine, you're sitting there saying
exactly.
Wallach? Is that how you pronounce it? Wallach? Like some people, that's what some fans are saying. Like, what are we doing here? But I do have a question I actually like to pose to both of you here.
Okay.
And Todd, you mentioned it a minute ago about Sorrento and Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a situation where Wise, at least on the pitching side of things, has younger pitchers that he wants to develop and they're receptive to the information in comparison to the offense where you have big name notable hitters? And I'm not saying Trout, Rendon, or Tawny Walsh are too big for their britches and can't take advice, but I wonder, does Reed and Sorrento kind of sit back and say, it's Mike Trout, he'll figure it out. It's Ohtani, he'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of that mentality differential between the pitching and the offense potentially?
I would have to agree a bit with that, because I could see where Wise can make Sandoval better and things like that. I could see where, he says, okay, Ohtani's a future Hall of Famer or Trout's a future Hall of Famer. I don't need to help them. My problem with those two guys is they don't help the Velasquezes of the world, the Renifos of the world. Guys that, you see up there that they're, Velasquez, in my opinion, and Fernando's seen it too, he swings at pitches head high. If he keeps his barrel of the bat waist high and down, the guy's dangerous. His best contact has been at the, below the name. He's really good at that, but he's been swinging uncharacteristically. It seems like when guys like Ohtani get into funks, they don't attack it right away. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know if Fernando feels the same way on that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's no way to know. I know Mike Trout's the kind of guy who just kind of shows up, plays, and that's what it is. Because he's got that talent level. Obviously, knowing what we know that's just the kind of guy Trout is. That's no offense to him. He's the best player in baseball for that reason alone. He just has talent. But, I'm with Todd. I'd like to see more being done for these fringe guys, for these 4A guys. And maybe that kind of work is being done in the cage, but when they're there in the dugout and the camera pans into the dugout, you never see the hitting instructors working or like telling them like, oh, hey, your elbow's falling, nothing like that. You never see it. You just kind of see them eating sunflower seeds.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure they have to be earning a paycheck, right? If not, I would give Joe Madden the benefit of the doubt, or even Perry, and guess that they probably would have fired them, right? Almost all of Perry's moves going back to last year have led us to this moment where we are in a positive situation. I can't think of any move that Perry's ever made that was horrible to the sense where we just fell flat on our face. I can think of a couple stopgap guys that didn't work out, but legitimately, what has Perry done in his time with the Angels that's just been god-awful? There's not much that comes to mind immediately. But when we think Billy Epler, there's a lot that comes to mind immediately.
Absolutely. And I've talked about this with my group with Katella Chronicles, is this offseason, even though it was a lockout year, this was Perry Manassian's first real opportunity to put his imprint on this organization. He came in the year before, he was strapped with Albert Pujols, he was strapped with Justin Upton, and he just had to deal with the situation at hand. And he made great moves. And again, 2021 did not go the way we planned it, missing the playoffs for another year in a row. But this offseason, he's made the moves. He's done what he's had to do offensively and on the pitching side of things. And now we're seeing the benefits of all his moves. And I agree. I don't really think he has made a bad move. He's made tough decisions. Albert Pujols, DFAing him,
absolutely.
Justin Upton. He's had to make tough moves that seem that they could make the Angels fall flat on their face. But the Angels that are still Angels have picked up his moves and made him look like a genius. And he, for all we know, he is a genius right now. Look where the Angels are at. We're tied for first with the Houston Astros. Let's freaking go.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
another one I'll look at when you bring up Perry real quick, because I know we floundered on game one here, but Mike Lorenzen, like I really, Fernando followed this guy's career. I didn't really know him. So like when we were talking about signing him, I'm like, who's Mike Lorenzen? And I had to look him up and I was like, okay, he hasn't pitched a start since 2015. And I was pounding the ground like, dude, why isn't Perry going out getting another Noah Syndergaard, getting another pitcher that we need? And then seeing how his moxie is, just first off, the way he's built and the way he just goes out there and his mentality, he looks like a starter that has won you 17 games 3 years in a row. And he looks like a competitor. And you couple that with Sandoval, Ohtani, Noah, what he's doing, these rookies coming up. It's like, man, dude, this team has gone from having nobody, scraping the bottom of the barrel, to now being overfilled with pitchers and now not knowing what to do with Suarez, Canning, or Jaime.
Yep. It's a wild scenario. I've always, in a little different from you, Todd, is that I've always seen Michael Lorenzen, and that's not because he's an alumni of Cal State Fullerton, and that's where I went. So I actually saw him pitch when he was in college. So I got to see him a little bit, follow him when he went to Cincinnati a little bit. So his name was a little more recognizable, at least for me. Okay. And, he's been open about it. The Angels were willing to make me a starting pitcher, and that's where I knew I was going to thrive. I think a little bit for him, I got to prove everybody wrong. The Angels took a shot on me. They're in my corner. And I'm going to tell the other teams in Major League Baseball, hey, right here, you didn't believe in me. So that's a great fire. Noah Syndergaard has that fire because of everything that happened and that had transpired and kind of in a weird way still is transpiring with the New York Mets. And as a sidebar, not to get too off, when the Mets come into town in June, everybody wants to see Syndergaard versus Scherzer. We know that, right? We know that's primetime baseball.
Yeah, that'll be a fun series, especially if both teams are as hot as they are right now.
Yeah. And if DeGrom can be anywhere healthy, Ohtani DeGrom would be a nice starting matchup.
Yeah, but Lorenzen, I think for you is a great transition because after, and we'll get into this, the game one mishap, Lorenzen then in turn turns it around, and in game two, he slaps Oakland across the face 3 and 4 times and say, okay, we'll take a blowout win. Thank you very much. We'll take a split.
Absolutely.
That's a great way to pick up a team that had a heartbreaking loss. And that's Lorenzen's way of saying, Rysel, I'm gonna give you a nice bear hug. We love you. You're still our closer. We're gonna at least walk away in Oakland with at least a split on a Saturday afternoon.
And speaking of real quick, Fernando, if you remember
I was gonna say they were teammates, in Cincinnati.
Yeah, because you had Lorenzen when that game in Chicago where they had to pull Raciel and he almost blew the game for Lorenzen that game. And the one thing I took out of that, which is the chemistry is obviously off the chart with the cowboy hat and all this other stuff and what the bullpen does too. But I love the fact that Lorenzen was going over things with Raciel and Raciel was going over things with him, not even watching the last out by Tepera. And they were the first to hug each other. And Iglesias is like, hey, man, sorry, I almost blew your game. And Lorenzen's like, hey, no worries. That's team. We haven't seen that in such a long time. Where I don't even remember seeing it for the Angels.
It's not me, it's we.
Yes.
That's something we're used to.
Not someone we're used to. And it's great to see. And, I don't want to get on the treacherous kind of I forget, I'm blanking on the word here for a minute, but should we not maybe pitch Rysel in the same game as Lorenzen right now? Because I think we're seeing that trend where it's not going superstitious. That's the word. I don't want to get superstitious, but the Lorenzen Rysel combo might need a week off just for good measure, try to work that out.
Right. For sure.
It might start trending in the wrong direction for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just this Angels team has been really fun to watch. And even though the game one on that Saturday did not pan out the way we wanted to, Jonathan Diaz continued to pitch well. 4.2 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 4 walks. So his walks are still pretty shaky. When Tom was at the game against the Nationals when he pitched, it was the same thing. Walked a lot of batters. But, I mean, overall, man, Diaz has looked good. 4 strikeouts, still has that ERA of 0.0. I mean, what more do you want out of a guy who's come up, made 2 spot starts for you, 2 very good starts?
Mm-hmm. I think when he needs to, he goes in there like what they say with Ohtani. When Ohtani gets a runner at second, he dials it up a notch. I think Diaz starts to just go into a different mindset with runners on base. So I like the kid's moxie, man. I really think he could be another piece.
Yeah, it seems like him and Jose Suarez are almost like the same pitcher, except Diaz is less phased than Suarez. Yeah. Suarez just kind of goes out there and like pitches. But like the thing with Jose Suarez is when he's in a jam, you almost feel like he gives up. You just kind of see him out there and he always looks kind of flat. He's sitting there, he's waiting, he's looking in the dugout, waiting for, old man Joe to come pull him out, give him the shepherd's hook. And, like Diaz, like strikes me as a guy who, like, if Joe Madden came out and was like, give me the ball, he'd be angry about it. Mm-hmm. Like Noah Syndergaard gives me extreme Jared Weaver vibes. Remember like when Weaver was going to get yanked by Scioscia and he would just kind of look at Scioscia and be like, bro, you better walk your old ass back in that dugout. It looks like, like that's how Syndergaard is. And it looks like Diaz would give you the same kind of energy.
I feel a little bit Suarez reminds me a little bit of Andrew Heaney, where they could get the first 2 outs of an inning. And then once you get to 2 outs, that third out is the hardest thing imaginable for them to get. And then if they get into trouble, they kind of look around like, well, what the heck do you want me to do? I got 2 outs. It's 3 outs in an inning, kind of wrap it up. So Suarez and Heaney kind of, are mirror each other a little bit. And it is weird because we came into the offseason, into spring training saying Suarez is a lock. He pitched well last year. He's ready to roll.
It was his spot to lose. Yeah.
It was his spot to lose. And now you're seeing Reed Detmers with the no-no. I think he now overlocked himself over Suarez. Sandoval's been legit. And now you're getting young guys coming out of AA and AAA now overtaking Suarez. It happens.
Yeah. I think Suarez might be getting thrown here into a bullpen role. If anything, he might just be a long reliever. Maybe he doesn't have what it takes to be a starter, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's typically how relievers come, right? You come as a starter through the minors, something happens, maybe you just don't have the stamina, maybe your velo starts to drop because you're throwing 4 or 5 innings, and they throw you in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a successful reliever. But it looks like Suarez might be trending in that direction. And he's still young. I get that. I'm not giving up on him the same way I'm not giving up on Joe Adele just yet. But it looks like he's just going to be a bullpen kind of guy, if I had to say.
Okay, well, game 2, real quick. I have a question for both of you guys. I want to see if you agree or disagree. I said this on the post game.
We're jumping into game 2 already?
Yeah, because I thought we jumped off of game 1 already. Or we.
Oh, what are we talking about? We're talking about game 1 right now, the doubleheader.
Yeah, game 1 of the doubleheader. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, lost it. Forget about it. It's over.
Yeah.
Mulligan. Anybody? Yes.
Yeah. All right, let me start over. Okay.
Yeah, the ball's up in the air. Cover your head so it doesn't hit you because you lost it in the lights.
So game 1 Saturday between the Angels and A's. You mentioned Diaz got the start. But I wanted to ask you guys a question because I brought this up on the post game. I felt Iglesias blowing a save. It's bound to happen. That didn't cost us the game. I felt the offense of the lineup that Madden put out there cost us the game. In all actuality, did he do the right thing with benching these guys? Is he babying the guys? Because I'll give you my take afterwards. Because what do you guys think? Could they have started the full lineup both games?
For me, knowing Joe Madden and his history of managing, I think we should all come to the realization that he's going to do sometimes things that we don't expect him to do. Like come on, a bases loaded intentional walk to Corey Seager in Texas. Again, did anybody have that on the bingo card?
No.
How was that game?
He did stuff like that. So should we expect him to give Trout an off day at least once a week, Ward, and it just kind of all lined up at one time in that sense? I don't think we should be surprised anymore about it. Would I have done that? Probably not. Now, does at least maybe one of those three guys get the afternoon off and plays in the nightcap? Sure, why not? I think it's still early, and even though we're happy and hyped about this team right now, Joe is still going to get these guys days off to keep them as fresh as they can be for the second half of the season. And when you have excess guys, especially in the infield with Duffy, Mayfield, Rengifo before he got hurt this weekend, and Velasquez, and all of that, you can afford a little bit to maybe take one or two of those guys out. For me, Trout wants to play every day. He should have been in that lineup.
Yep.
Taylor Ward, he's hot as can be. And right now, my favorite for AL MVP. I know that's a little, it's early, but the numbers don't lie. He probably should have been in there. I know he had the hammy, kind of strain tightness, whatever, earlier in the week against Tampa. So maybe it was erring on the side of caution. And Anthony Rendon, you're getting paid $250 million. Please be in the lineup.
Yes.
Please. So I'm kind of 50-50. I'm not surprised and I get it. But me as a loyal Angels consumer, I want the best lineup on the field 24/7. Absolutely.
Gotcha. What about you, Fernando?
I mean, one thing I'll say is if, let's just say you're working like at a Taco Bell. You got a coworker who gets paid $35 an hour and he's taking 2 or 3 days off a week. You'd be like, why am I over here making, the minimum wage? This guy's getting a ton of money and he gets every other day off. So the reason I'm saying that is because Trout gets paid $35.4 million a year and he's missing a lot of days off a week. He's missing at least a game a week. And I get it. Maybe, Joe Madden wants to be a little cautious because Mike Trout's been getting hurt a lot the last couple of years, right? I mean, when was the last fully healthy year Trout had?
Right.
Maybe like 2016?
Yeah.
2016? Yeah. Because he was hurt in 17, he was hurt in 18, he was hurt in 19. 20 didn't count because it wasn't a full year. So I get it. I mean, you want to protect your guy, especially because, we're still early on in the year. I get that. But I mean, why does he need so much time off?
Well, yeah. And my thing too, like, I felt we could have won 8 in a row, dude, because I was at the Tampa game, the finale. They put out a real bad lineup in that game. The Angels really don't score till they bring Ward in and he hits a 2-run homer. And then the other day in game 1, they don't do anything basically on offense till they bring Rendon and Trout off the bench. So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, you're either all in or you're not. You're going to give them the day off, put them in street clothes. Don't let them pinch hit. You know what I mean? Or, but you're bringing them out there to pinch hit. So they got obviously to play. You should just play them. Or because a guy like Ohtani's not going to take a day off. He's like, dude, I want to play every day. It's not Mike Scioscia days where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to hit 3 days. Then the day before it started, I'm taking a day off. I only pitch on my, and don't hit when I pitch. I take the next day off. You know what I mean? It's not like that. He's playing every day. So I don't see why these other guys can't. And then even if you do put out a bad lineup like that where you're hampering your offense or you're hitting, why not do small ball stuff? When hit against the shift, bunt, hit and run, steal bases. They seem to still be swinging for the fences sometimes in these games, and that's why they put up zeros.
They had a lot of speed in the lineup for that game 1. I mean, Marsh, Rengifo. I mean, Captain Jack isn't a complete slowpoke. I mean, Tyler Wade's obviously, he is what he is. Velasquez, Whitfield. I mean, there's some speed there. Yeah, I'm all about the small ball there. They should have at least played some 1985 baseball if you're going to roll out a lineup like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I do agree. I'm out of the 2 games this week that we saw where Joe Madden kind of played that lineup game.
Mm-hmm.
The finale against Tampa pissed me off way more than the Oakland game because you have an off day the next day.
Yes.
You're traveling that night to Oakland, and y'all are going to go out in Oakland and have lunch, tour the city, and be a relaxed brotherhood of teammates. Play the damn game, and even better, it's in front of your home fans that pay to see these big boys play each and every day. Put them in the lineup.
Let alone the fact that you're playing Tampa Bay. You're not playing, you weren't playing Oakland.
And Tampa doesn't want to get swept. They want to win. And especially with, a strong starting pitcher on the mound, go shove him off the mound. Go hit the ball. You have an off day Thursday. I get the doubleheader. It makes more sense to split the lineup. The one on Wednesday against Tampa completely and utterly pissed me off more so.
I agree because, again, not only did you waste that game, but you wasted a great performance by Shohei. He only gave up a home run. He wasn't striking out guys left and right like he did the previous two starts.
One bad pitch.
Yeah, he pretty much kept you in the game the entire way. Even if Tepera gives up a run, that's only 2 runs. Your offense accordingly should score more than that if you have your full lineup out there. But it just seemed hamstrung from the beginning, and the fans could feel it. I was there, and it was just like when the air was out of the bag until Ward hit that homer, and then you thought, okay, we're going to win this in extra innings. And then when they got those 2 runs, you're like, well, there it goes. Like we had our chance earlier. So I'm with you. When I think about it, the Rays one does bother me more. Yeah.
We went. Anything else about game 1? I mean, we know Brysell came in, got a blown save. I mean, he can't be perfect all the time. And, the one thing, if you look at that pitch, it wasn't a bad pitch. It was a slider off the plate. You just got to tip your cap to, somebody having a good swing.
Pretty much. I mean, those 13,000 fans got their money's worth.
At some point, some days you're going to win some days you're going to lose some, and it's a game 1 of a doubleheader. If we had lost game 2 of the doubleheader, I think it puts more emphasis on that Brysell blown save, but we pick up game 2. And I think this whole conversation about Joe Madden in the lineup, you're going to see that throughout, but especially maybe next month when we have that doubleheader against Seattle, you're going to definitely see it again. And this could be a conversation that happens probably throughout the year. But if the Angels keep winning, I guess it works.
It gets brushed aside.
Yeah, it won't matter as much.
Exactly.
They say winning fixes everything.
Because that's our thing right now, is we've talked about this the last few podcasts, is that schedule for June and July looks pretty crazy. Yeah. Nothing but contenders. And so that's really going to spell where this team is at. So if they can stay relatively healthy and be playing at this kind of level, or get guys better like your Rendones and your Walshes hitting more consistently, man, I mean, it could be fun couple months, but it's definitely taking one game at a time once we finish this Oakland, Texas type deal here coming up.
Those playoff mentality games in June and July, those are the days where if Joe Madden alters that lineup so much and makes it like a little league lineup, you want to wring his neck at that point. But when when you're going back to back with, it's the Yankees, the Phillies, the Red Sox, and then you have the Dodgers and the Mariners all back to back to back. Trout better be 100%. Everybody's got to be playing on their A game. And it's going to be fun because Angels are going to be playing some meaningful games with a meaningful record. It's not going to be like years past where we're trying to play the spoiler role and steal a series from a good team. Yankees are no joke right now. The Phillies are slowly getting there. The Red Sox are slowly getting there. The Dodgers are no joke, and that's a crosstown rivalry that you got to take advantage of this week and next week. Oakland and Texas. Beat them to a pulp and create some cushion when you have those bigger series.
Toronto and New York right after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to bring up your point, as we're going to dip into game 2, I don't see the team going on a prolonged losing streak because you have these stopgap pitchers, not stopgap pitchers, but guys that'll stop losing streaks, like Lorenzen. Like you said earlier, you brought up the fact that Lorenzen's like, hey man, I got you. I'm gonna give us a W in game 2. And I mean, that's the kind of mentality that winning teams have, and we have that. So that's why I think everyone's so pumped up right now.
Yeah, and sometimes you get Syndergaard and Ohtani in the same series, like we're going to see this week against Texas on Monday and Wednesday. You're telling me 2 out of 3 games we have an ace going on the mound, when in years past it was more 2 out of 3 rookies going out there that were inexperienced. Let's see, Syndergaard, Ohtani, or Cahill, Harvey. I think we all know where we're going with that.
Julio Teheran, the meme lord.
Wow. Yeah, we've come a long way in such a short period of time.
Yeah, so it's the best if we just laugh about it at this point.
And a guy in Texas is like, man, we got Noah in game 1. We got We got Ohtani in game 3. Oh, and that guy that threw the no-hitter in game 2. Jeez.
Yeah, right. So game 2 on Saturday, we had the Vans man, Michael Lorenzen, pitch 7 great innings, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 1 walk, which is great to see, 3 strikeouts. And then we went up against the porn stash prince, Adam Oler. He was 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 8 runs, all of them earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, Ward got us off with that grand slam. That was great. That guy's just tearing it up.
Taylor baseball, man.
I'm telling you. And I don't know if you guys saw his quote from earlier today. He says he feels like no pitcher can get him out right now. So, I mean, that's confidence, that's cockiness, whatever you want to call it. But I like it.
Yeah. If this was a New York Yankees player saying that statement, the amount of love he'd be getting for it. But if it's an Angels, you read the comments. How dare he? How can he's cocky? It's like, okay, I'm sorry we're not in black and white pinstripes. Pardon us. Exactly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. West Coast bias over here.
I think if he was said that with the Dodgers, it would have been a big thing too, because you compare their media with ours, it's just like night and day.
Exactly. And you
so happy I kept all my Taylor Wardstein stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, future AL MVP, and I'll say this. I know we're going to continue on game 2 here. I'm just going to get on the pedestal for a hot second. Is Taylor Ward? I know it's a month and a half in, and he missed the first, on the IL to start the regular season. If his numbers were eligible in Major League Baseball right now with the plate appearances and different things, he would be first in average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, and then he's tied for 12th in home runs and tied for 19th in RBIs. He's beating Trout,
he was
Judge,
eligible.
and Stanton.
Yeah. He was eligible, then missed a couple of games and then got uneligible again. But I think he should be there again if he plays this entire series against the Rangers. He should be eligible again.
I just like the fact that he's the epitome of a player who's AKA found it or realized it or got it. It's finally sunken in. And he looks his approach, because to me, Adele had his approach from last year. He was swinging at outside pitches, not really plate discipline. Now it seems like he's waiting for the pitcher to find his happy zone, and he's just attacking it. And if they don't give him what he wants, he'll just go the other way. He's spraying the ball, like Gooby said, all over the field. And that's something that only the good ones do. And you know what? If, knock on wood, if this is the dude that he's going to become, the Angels found themselves another diamond in the rough.
Yeah. Taylor Ward was the epitome of a 4A player. He was a 4A guy who you kept around because you had that hope that he was going to do something for you. He was Billy Epler's first draft pick as a general manager. And, we just kept waiting around. And we always kept saying, man, we should DFA this guy. This is the guy who a year ago, Grill Master would have been all over like flies on shit. He would have been like, DFA this guy, DFA this guy, DFA this clown. Yet now we're sitting here talking about a guy who's flirting with 400.
Yeah.
A guy who is at this rate going to definitely be an all-star. And at this rate, if he continues to hit, we're talking about a guy that most baseball fans haven't even heard of getting some MVP votes. Yes, it's early. It's a month and a half in. I get it. But if this was a 60-game season, the season would almost be over. And he'd be a shoo-in for an MVP award. Mickey Mouse award or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm fully on board on that one. Again, it's only a month and a half, but at the same time, he's kept this up for a month and a half. This isn't a week or two span. This is a full month and a half, and it doesn't look like there's any pumping of the brakes right now. With his comment today that he made, and now multiple grand slams, his contact rate is high right now. He nearly almost hit for the cycle. What else on the bingo card has he not done yet? He had a pinch hit home run on Wednesday, so the pinch hit home run's off the market.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't robbed a homer yet this year.
He hasn't robbed a homer, and does he need to pitch an inning? Does he need to go back to catcher for an inning? Like,
there you
put
go.
that on the bingo card now.
I mean, him being a catcher wouldn't be super impressive, right? I mean, that's what he was drafted as. So
it's just
I think he caught last year for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think he did, but it wasn't
like last year. He caught like an inning or two, I think, like an emergency.
He did it mostly in spring training. But the funny thing is, Taylor Ward was not on the, like if you see that I keep seeing in the Salt Lake Bees, he was actually doing stuff for them because, he figured to be on their roster for most of the year or for a good chunk of it. He was, showing off the jerseys for the website. And, when we had Upton and the big question was, okay, are we going to platoon Marsh and Adele? Which one's going to go down? Now that the way it's played out, Upton gone, Adele played himself off the roster. Marsh is a shoe-in either left or right. Then you got Ward now tearing it up. I mean, the outfield's pretty much set with Ward, Walsh, and Trout.
Oh, Marsh, not Walsh, right?
I mean, Marsh. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Marshy, Walshy, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, I can make by those guys.
I think by Ward finding great success so far this year, it does put a hamper in the plans, and we've already seen it for Joe Adele. Now that he's back at AAA Salt Lake, he's hitting the ball great. Defensively, he's still got things to work on. And this is probably...
Oh, dude, his defense is still horrible down there. Have you seen those Twitter highlights?
It's not great. It's not... I'm trying to be nice to the kid, but it's not great. He's made it's almost like every one good play, there's 10 bad ones. And this could be a conversation and a topic for another day. But I've had, us at Katella Chronicles, we've had this conversation, and it's something that we're going to be putting out once our website launches on May 19th. Is one of our first articles is going to be either the top 5 reasons why Adele should or should not be traded. And on initial impact right now, today was the trade deadline, and he's tearing it up at AAA. And even though his defense is sketchy, if you can bring in some caliber player that fits a need for the Angels, like another ace pitcher, and you could send a package of Adele, Suarez, and a prospect for an ace, are you willing to do that right now with the strengths of Ward, Trout, Marsh in the outfield, and then you can find a 4th outfielder later? Is it a real conversation we can have?
Give me a name. Who are you thinking? Are we talking Luis Castillo with the Reds? Because, I mean, even him with this injury this year, I'd say no.
I think Castillo's on the minds of a lot of people. I'd have to look at the market right now to see who's on a contract year that could be maybe a 1-year rental or even maybe 2-year rental. It's hard to say.
What about Molly from the Reds?
Yeah, I'm not against trading Joe Adele. I'll say
it's got to be worth something.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm not going to give up Joe Adele, Jose Suarez, and potentially another prospect for a rental. Even a 2-year guy, a year and a half of somebody. I mean, unless we're talking about like a Max Scherzer for a year and a half, it's going to take an awful lot for me to pull the trigger on that deal. I'm not opposed to trading Joe Adele. I will trade almost everybody in my lineup. The same way that I don't use the term forever house when it comes to buying a house. I will sell my house if somebody gives me the right amount of money. I'll sell Mike Trout if somebody gives – okay, I probably wouldn't do that. But you know what I mean? In the words of Ted DiBiase, everybody has a price. Yeah. So I'm not opposed to trading Joe Adele if it makes the Angels better, and especially if it's going to make the Angels better for the next 2 or 3 years. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Angels have a 3-year window here because Trout's only going to get older. Rendon is going to only get older. And we've yet to see a peak Rendon in an Angels uniform. Ohtani might not be here past next year. So the Angels have a very, very small window here of 3 years. If you can trade some guys to make that window a little more open, maybe to 5 years, great. That's what we want to do. And it looks like we might be getting that with guys like Ward, Sandoval, maybe Suarez, Jonathan Diaz. If those guys step up, well, that's going to open up your window a little longer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very tough concept, I think, to grapple with right now, because I think we're still in the mode of, we know Joe Adele has the pure talent. We know what he can do, and we know there's some things he needs to work on, but we know the ability that he has with the bat in his hand. He can hit moonshots every which way possible. That's fantastic. It's refining that's the key. And I'm just scared that we have a 4A player on our hands, and he's going to be he's our good old friend. He's our good old friend Brandon Wood or Dallas McPherson.
I knew he was going to say that.
That's my only concern. It's like I'd rather trade somebody before we realize everybody realizes he's a 4A player, and you get something in return. And I agree with you, Fernando. You don't want a rental. That would be, I think,
not
the
for
worst
Dell
thing.
yet.
And not yet. And watch, knowing our luck, he'll go somewhere else and be an all-star caliber player, and we'll just sit there and say, why couldn't you do that with us?
Yeah, we've seen it other times. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, here's the thing. Growing up in San Diego, I always used to hear on the sports talk radio, my dad used to listen to Mighty 1090 all the time. All you ever heard for years on Padres radio was, oh, hot talent lava, hot talent lava. All these young guys are going to come up and produce. As of right now, the Padres are sitting on a bed of shit. Okay, they've done nothing. They haven't been productive. They made a Mickey Mouse playoff year. And that's all they've done. You kept hearing for 6 or 7 years down there, hey, we're going to have these guys come up, pan out, and we're going to be a playoff caliber team. Maybe this year they're going to finally get to those days, but I don't want to sit here for 12 years waiting for these guys that are getting drafted to be productive. I understand that we're trying to contend for years to come. But as I said, as of right now, we only have these 3 years. I'm not going to trade the farm to get better, but if I can trade a guy like Joe Adell to make this team really good for the next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to do it. Like if the Marlins want to give us, what's his name? Is it Tyler Rogers for Joe Adell? I'm super in on that. I know they're not going to take that trade. Or maybe Kelly from the Diamondbacks. What's his name? Merrill Kelly. I'd maybe consider something like that. And if I'm getting, another piece, sure. But, time will tell. As of right now, Joe Adell, since going down to AAA in 31 at-bats, he's batting .355 with 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a stolen base. Screams 4A to me for sure.
Yeah, the days of the 4A players coming through this organization, I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I could easily see him going to Colorado, to Cincinnati, something like that. And then we're like, damn, this guy was on our team one year. And then the next year, he's batting for Colorado in the All-Star game with 34 home runs or something. And,
I'll feel a lot better, though, holding a new World Series ring.
Well, there you go. Yeah, or at least going to the postseason.
Winning solves everything. That's all. Is that going to be the name of this episode? Winning solves everything? Because I feel that's the central theme so far.
I think so.
Right.
And speaking of winning, we won that game, right? The game 3.
Yes, I was gonna make it the what's it called, a trough torture, and then put a photo of the troughs at the Coliseum. That was gonna be the thumbnail.
Oh my god!
Maybe trough torture would be a good one. But yeah, the Angels won 9-1. Like you said, Taylor Ward was would you give him the Golden Stamos that day?
Oh, they had the Golden.
In 3 at-bats, 2 runs, 3 hits, 5 RBIs, was walked twice. And at the end of that game, his batting average was sitting at a pristine 384.
Yeah. I mean, the guy just does it all, and he got us off to a good start, and the rest of the team just responded, got some hits, kept putting the pressure on, and Oakland looked like Oakland between, what we expected, what they were going to do in this series. Like they weren't going to score many runs, and if we had to, skirt out some, the nightcap was different, obviously, but the day games, you had to work for your runs against them, unfortunately.
Yeah, there is one thing about that second game I think that a lot of people have talked about, and I know for sure we haven't actually really mentioned him tonight so far. And I know if you didn't see social media today, Michelle Tafoya would love this topic here. Shohei Ohtani hits home run number 100, and then to add into today's game, he doubles down and goes 101. So Shohei Ohtani finding a little power stroke in his bat again. I think that's a nice positive sign in the middle of that order.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we talk too much Otani apparently. So.
And even if Otani doesn't have a Twitter handle, we're just going to pick some Twitter handle that has Otani on it. It works the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's the worst.
but Otani,
you guys talk too much about Otani.
So this segment of the show, Michelle Tafoya, if you're listening, this is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm telling you, Otani, when he's on, like he can hit the ball all over the field, left center field. I think that's when his true swing is there. But he can also turn on a pitch and crush it to right field. But it's just awesome to see him hit it to the deepest part of that field, and almost effortlessly. And his bat gets going, it's starting to get going. His average goes up. It's going to be even more dangerous. I mean, the first 5, if they're all clicking in this lineup and all in there, is very scary for any opponent to look at. And whatever you get out of the bottom 4 is gravy.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, when your 6 is what, Marsh? Also, that tells you a lot also.
But it's great, too, when you have guys from 6 and below, Marsh, Velasquez, Wade, Fletcher when he's better and healthy. You have table setters at the bottom of the order. So later in the game, when that lineup flips, you pretty much have table setters all around that lineup. It's just not in that number 1 leadoff spot. So the Angels lineup becomes very balanced when those 5 guys are all on at the same time. Is it going to happen, 365 days a year? No, but even if 3 of those guys are on, it's still a very, very tough lineup to go through as an opposing pitcher.
Absolutely not.
Let me ask you this, Dominic.
Okay.
Does it bother you? Because I've had this conversation with Todd already. Does it bother you that Velasquez couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat, or does his defense make up for it?
Definitely, the defense makes up for it. I think he has the ability not to be a 300, batting average type player, but if he zones in a little bit and focuses just on pitches in the zone and stops swinging away at the golf swings and the stuff outside the zone, which any player, of course, would say, we want that in our career. We don't want to be, fishing at junk. He can be that slap happy hitter, get a single, go steal a base, and be what Joe Madden, be that table setter for Taylor Ward to come up next at bat and knock a 2-run home run, Trout to hit a 3-run homer, to be that he doesn't have to be the 300 hitter we need him to be. If this was last year and we didn't have Trout, Rendon, and everybody else, then sure. But I think the defense absolutely makes up for some of the inabilities hitting wise. And truthfully, during spring training, I thought he was going to be a Salt Lake B all season long. You probably weren't going to see much of him unless there was a number of injuries to this lineup. And when Fletcher came up, and as soon as he made about, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 terrific web gem type plays, I said, Joe Madden's in love. He's not going anywhere, regardless if he bats 150 or 400. That kid's going to see the lineup each and every day. So I will say, yes, his defense does make up for it, but he can slap the ball. And we saw it, Friday night. He did get one little clean lick in Oakland. So that's a nice little positive trend for him.
And I'll ask
Do you like the Simmons comp?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And in a way, this is going to be maybe a hot take for some people, and it's in a very small scope. I think Velasquez in some ways may be even a little bit better than Simmons. And I'll say it with this remark. Simmons was a very rangy player. He could run and then do the big jumping toss. Velasquez has hops. Mm-hmm. He's kind of that shorter, stoutier, kind of quick. So they're both a little bit of the same, but just, same answer, different equation to get there. But I think if Velasquez had a full season at shortstop and he was never pulled, I think he could be just as good, if not better, than Simmons. And I think that's a big comp to him. And that could be a hot take. You tell me.
Oh, I think it is, because I think the way he ranges out and saves runs in those short, shallow fly balls between the outfield and the infield is worth its money right there too. The double play combinations, the way he stops balls from getting up the middle. The guy's a fantastic player. We'd love for him to hit 240, at least 250. Will he get there? I think he will. He's a switch hitter. I do think he's better. I think he's basically what Iglesias was supposed to be last year. And like making all these spectacular plays, no errors. He's got a good rapport with the rest of the guys. And boy, I'm telling you, if he gets it going, man, I mean, that's only going to make this lineup even scarier with him being the table setter, like you said, at the bottom of the lineup. If he's flipping it for those guys you're talking about, he's going to get a lot of runs scored.
Yeah, absolutely. And you even have guys that Matt Duffy, who's been IL'd right now, and he just came back on game 2 of the doubleheader. Before he was on the IL for the non-injury related, which I believe was quote unquote COVID, if sources confirm or not, he was swinging a hot stick as well, batting through 3 something for a long period of time. He's down in the 260s now, but he's a table setter, a veteran table setter at the bottom of the order. So even with David Fletcher out and not hitting to the ability we know David Fletcher can, there's a lot of opportunity there, and the Angels aren't skipping a beat, and it's good to see. Absolutely.
So with that W, Fernando, that led us up to today's game.
Yeah, so game 4, the Sandyman can and did 6.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. No home runs were given up. He now has a horrible ERA of 1.91. How dare you, Patrick Sandoval? No, man, Patrick Sandoval is just a god at this point. He went up against Frankie Montas, who's a guy who a lot of people want to see in an Angels uniform. I've seen his name thrown around by a bunch of people on Angels Twitter saying, hey, the Angels should go after him. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs. They were both earned, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. So he did mow through the lineup with those strikeouts, gave up a home run, and has an ERA of 3.67 after today.
Well, it was on one of those games where Sandy wasn't going to get the freaking run support, but he kept us in the game. He got into a few jams, but at 2-1, he was a lockdown pitcher. He outdueled Montez in a way, and then the hitting did its job for the most part. My question to both of you guys is, again, we had basically, you had Iglesias pitch game 1 of Saturday, and you kind of went through the bullpens a little bit on Saturday. I get that, but what was your impressions of just saying, hey, Herget, get the last 8 outs?
I absolutely love Jimmy Herget. And I know last year he did great stuff last year with, again, a sub roster in 2021. Spring training was pretty good, and I knew that frisbee little flick pitch, whatever you want to call it on any day, is something that Joe Maddon's going to attract himself to. It's something different. It's not the same arm angle as every other pitcher on the roster. So Herget to get the ball and go, let me look here. 2 2/3 innings, no runs, 1 hit. His ERA drops to 3.32, and looking at his full body of work so far this year, and this will include the 3-inning start against the White Sox a couple weeks ago, he's gone 14 games. 6 of those 14 games have been multi-inning performances, so 1.1 and 1.1 plus. So he's shown that he's got longevity in the arm, especially on days like today where the bullpen is maybe a little taxed yesterday due to a doubleheader. There's no off day until Thursday. You're traveling tonight to Texas, which the Angels always somehow score a lot of runs, and even when good pitchers are on the mound, they give away a lot of runs. So the bullpen should be fresh. Rysel had that tricky day on Saturday. Let him have a breather day. Jimmy Herget, is he the MVP of our bullpen right now?
Maybe.
It's a real, it's a real good option to have. I don't see a problem with it. I love Jimmy Herget.
Okay. Fernando?
Yeah, I'm a fan. He's a lot of fun to watch. I like how gritty he looks. He just looks like an old school pitcher that you would have, maybe your dad would have told you some stories about. But he's just fun to see out of the bullpen. You can get so much out of him. You can get 3 innings to start a game. You could get a save. There's almost nowhere where you can put him. And I'm not exactly going to say that when they put him in there that I don't worry. He's not the best pitcher we have as a starter. He's not the best pitcher we have as a long reliever, as a closer, you name it. But you could put Jimmy Herget in there and you'll at least know that he's not going to give away the game. Yeah. He will go out there. He will try. He'll try to have a good outing. He hardly ever gets beat by bad pitches. He's not walking and he's not beating himself.
Okay, quick take for both of you guys. Agree or disagree? Is he Scott Shields minus the fastball?
It's not a bad comp. It's not the worst comp I've ever heard, Ted, do you think?
No, I'd say not a bad comp. I'd say with a little more time. Sure, why not?
Okay.
I think the one comp I gave him, and I wrote this down, and not to compare him, I'm just going to say this comparison based on knowing Joe Madden's mind and how he likes to utilize favorite pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Herget, and this could be a prediction forward thinking, and we can go back to this at the end of the year. Jimmy Herget will be the most used pitcher out of this bullpen, just like Steve Cishek was last year. But he's going to pitch.
Okay.
He's going to pitch better than Steve Cishek, clearly, and he's already proven that. Just based on appearances, he'll be the Steve Cishek of 2022 Angels.
Okay, I could see that because he was a favorite of Madden's, and I think Herget out of nowhere is turning into a favorite of Madden's as well. So.
Don't tell me Joe Madden doesn't have a little soft spot for Herget with the glasses.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Come on, it's just that old school type pitcher, that feel with the high sock look.
Yeah.
The frisbee slider curve junk pitch that he throws. He's got it all. He's the cool cat.
Yeah, because probably Joe's like, you like Buddy Holly, right? And Herget's like, yeah, she's great. So.
Yeah, but Sandoval, a terrific outing. Herget, a great outing. I think this is something that the Angels don't normally have in years past. Normally, it's after the starter, there'd be at least 3 or 4 guys, and they'd be maxed out at 1 inning. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of the time this year. Even if the starter only goes 5 1/3, 6 1/3, you'll bring in one bullpen guy that finishes the game, and the rest of the bullpen can relax for the next day. So it's good to see some versatility on both sides of the ball in that sense.
How good is it to see that the Angels actually have pitching? Pitching that nobody saw coming, but it's been very effective. They've gotten the job done. They've been taking the league by storm.
11 games over 500 this early in the season. I mean, and a lot of that has to do with the pitching. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the pitching. The hitting's done its job too at times, but where they've slacked off, the pitching's been right there. I'm very impressed. I'm super excited, but I'm taking this one game at a time as we move forward. But I love what I'm seeing. I mean, just the overall turnover of the roster that we witnessed in 2021 to now is incredible. I'm blown away.
So, Angels win made this tweet, and you guys at Katella Chronicles retweeted it. So they put, ladies and gents, the Angels starting pitchers: Patrick Sandoval, 2.03 ERA, 5 games started. Noah Syndergaard, 2.45 ERA, 5 games started. Shohei Ohtani, 2.78, 6 games started. Michael Lorenzen, 3.57 ERA, 6 games started. Your weakest link is Reed Detmers at 3.77. Oh, he just threw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
Jonathan Diaz, 0.0. And then Silseth, who just made his MLB debut, 0.0.
You have those great numbers, and like Todd, you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and say, this is freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. But if you look at how you comp that to the rest of Major League Baseball, the Angels are 4th in ERA at 3.17, 1.08 in WHIP, which is 2nd in Major League Baseball behind the Dodgers. And then they're 1st in Major League Baseball in opposing average at 207. Where was this last not where was this last year, but like you said, how quick this turnaround is. This isn't your prototypical rebuild and retooling. Yeah. This is Perry he rubbed the lamp, got the genie. This was his first wish, and we're going to see what his next 2 wishes are. This is, I think the one word to supplement this, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's fantastic.
Teams that do rebuilds or have to restructure with a new GM, this would take 3 to 5 years. Look at Dipoto up in Seattle, and he still hasn't corrected it right, but he was on the right track. But Perry just walks in here and is like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and that, and it's going to work. And it worked. Like you said, he rubbed the genie lamp, and boom, there you go.
If I get to ask Perry one question, I definitely want to ask him. All right, so you knew Billy Upper's guys were about to start panning out, didn't you? That's what I want to ask him. Like, come on, when you took this job, man, you knew that Billy Upper's team was like about to start competing, huh? Like, you knew we were like a year or two off. I think he'd be like, yeah, I did. You know what I mean? Like, because if you look up and down the roster, I mean, this is Billy Upper's fingerprints all over it.
And that's why I think it circles back to what I said earlier. 2021, he couldn't put his true imprints on this organization. Too much money was tied up in big name players, and he kind of got in a couple months after the season had ended, so he didn't have that full, I know it was a full, well, I don't know, it was the COVID season, so you couldn't really get a full look at what this team was about.
Mm-hmm.
He got to see what the team was about last year. He knew what to address, and he started last year with the draft. 20 pitchers, 19 from college, 1 from high school. I don't know how many times we're going to have to reiterate that. We've been calling for pitching for years. And if anybody had one single negative comment about Perry Manassian after that draft, take your stuff and hit the road, go on another team's bandwagon, because he addressed it head on for the future.
And the national media actually laughed at him when we drafted all those pitchers. They're like, is this the Angels going a little overboard? Yeah, we know they need pitching, but do they really need that much pitching? And, some of our Angel fans, like you said, laughed at us too. They were like, hey, man, I don't know about this guy. But apparently he knows what he's doing.
We started getting a lot of this guy doesn't want to win kind of thing. Or was this an Artie move? I think this was an Artie move. No general manager would have done that.
But again, if this was the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, they'd be kissing Perry's feet, feeding him grapes, fanning him off in the Southern California sun, baby.
Well, that's what was my big complaint was on opening day. I'm walking by the booth and I see Roger just kissing Artie's ass, and he's like, so how'd you do the signing of these pitchers? Was Noah your idea? It's like, no, it wasn't his idea. And Artie's just there just soaking it in, saying, okay.
Artie's all sides my.
Yeah. Roger Lodge, we may love him on AM 830, but he knows who signs his paycheck.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
And I think, what are you going to do?
John Stamos. John Stamos signs my paycheck with his love.
I love that guy in Full House.
Oh, Johnny.
But I'm telling you, like, I think he's only had Perry on one time in the off season, and they haven't had him in the booth. But I guarantee you, the Angels keep winning. You're going to see Artie magically back in the booth and in his luxury box, because he's disappeared the last few years. But Perry,
the Avatar.
Perry, if he has to stay behind the scenes, he doesn't like the limelight. I'm totally cool with that, because whatever he's doing, it's working.
He is dedicated, though. I've been to a numerous amount of Angel games so far this year, and so far every Angel home game, he's in his booth. If it's with his kids, with family, or with anybody else, or even by himself, he is dedicated there every game. And you know him; he's doing his analytic work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he is dedicated to this team, and his dedication is now oozing into the clubhouse, which is oozing onto the field, which is oozing in to a tied for first place team with the Houston Astros.
Which is not what we expected.
Not what we expected, but are we taking it? Yes. And is it a recipe for success moving forward?
Yes.
And again, if he stays behind the scenes, Perry, you do you, boo-boo.
Exactly.
You do you. Well you, boo-boo.
You do you, boo-boo. I love you.
Well said. And coupling that. Oh, go ahead, Fernando.
No, I thought we were going to wrap to the
go ahead.
Ranger series.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, so now we got the Ranger series to look forward to. You guys already said who the Angels are sending out there. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow for game one, or I guess today, by the time you guys hear this, Noah Syndergaard is going up against John Gray. Noah is 3-1 with the 2.45 ERA, 21 strikeouts. John Gray, who was the big acquisition for Texas, 0-1, 5.51 ERA, 15 strikeouts. John Gray was a guy I want to see in an Angels jersey. At this point, I'm pretty happy that he hasn't been, because his stuff's look flat, super flat. Reed Demers is going on Tuesday for game 2, 2-1, 3.77 ERA and 20 strikeouts. And of course, he is coming fresh off of a no-hitter. Taylor Hearn is going for the Texas Rangers for game 2. 2-2, 5.26 ERA, 29 strikeouts. So his strikeout numbers are pretty impressive. Shohei Ohtani will be ending the series for the Angels. 3-2 with the 2.78 ERA and 46 strikeouts. Thanks in large part to his last 2 outings. He has gotten those K numbers up. Against Dane Dunning, 1-2 with the 4.06 ERA with an also respectable 37 strikeouts. All right. Do the Angels win this series? Dominic, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. They take the series.
Okay.
I would love a sweep. You always want to win your series. So I'm going to say Angels take 2 out of 3 just to err on the side of caution. My 2 predictions, I'll say, for this 3-game series in Texas, the Syndergaard and Ohtani will each toss a quality outing, so 6 innings and less than 3 runs allowed. And in whichever way, shape, or form, doesn't have to be in one game, but throughout the series, Trout, Ohtani, Walsh, and Ward will each pick up at least 1 home run in this series.
Yikes.
John Gray's going tomorrow. His fastball is so flat, and Trout had a cold series in Oakland, and he loves batting in Texas. I might even say 2 home runs for Trout in 3 days.
Okay. My predictions on this one, I'd like a sweep. I'm feeling a sweep. I just don't like saying a sweep. I may chalk this one up to Detmer's, getting a little too happy and getting back out of his basics, and maybe, an error or 2 cost the Angels that win in between. I like Noah and Ohtani to get the W's. I'm hoping Detmers can get the W. My hot take on this one would be Wallach breaking out of a little bit of a slump he's been in, because the last few games he's called as a catcher have been fantastic. The no-hitter, the shutout, 1-run games here and there. He's been great behind the plate calling games. I think his bat's going to really hit the stands. I'm calling for him to hit a home run in this series, and I like Velasquez to be at the end of the series batting over 200.
All right. I'm in a good mood. Angels sweep in the series. They score over 20 combined runs throughout 3 games.
All right.
So it's going to be an offense heavy. I don't think our pitching is going to be totally in on it. I think the pitching will give up a lot of runs, but I do think the Angels pull off a sweep, and I think their offense is going to carry them to these wins.
I think the only 2 things that I can see is that maybe are off base is Ohtani has pitched against Texas a lot in his career thus far. So they've seen him a numerous amount of times. So he might get taxed a little more than we're expecting. I know he's coming off back-to-back starts where he's just been lights out spectacular. So that could be maybe the one shift. And with Todd's Chad Wallach take, at some point Chad Wallach says, I'm taking over Kurt Suzuki's backup role, and Kurt Suzuki at any point gets DFA'd, or do the Angels stick with Kurt and they're happy with him?
I think Fernando has a strong take on this one.
Am I opening Pandora's box?
No, I just want them to DFA Kurt Suzuki. I don't like the attitude he brings. I just don't. I mean, that's my inner grill master, maybe. But, man, I like what Wallach brings. He's a local kid. The local guys seem to be at least bringing some good energy to us, right? I mean, we see it with Lorenzen. We've seen it with Patty S. And even Rojas when he's up here, I mean, at least he's always trying. Fletcher being Fletcher, and, people forget Canning's a local kid too, right?
Yeah.
When the 2 days a year that he's healthy. So it's just, I like Wallach. I like the game he calls. I think he provides better defense than Kurt Suzuki does. And at the end of the day, a catcher is all about defense, in my opinion. I don't care if you can't hit your weight if you're a catcher. As long as you give me a chance to win a game behind the dish and you call a good game for my pitchers, that's all I care about. And Wallach has a really good glove back there and a good arm.
Yeah, and he's actually threatened to throw a couple guys out at first with snap throws. And you notice since Kurt's gone on the IL that there hasn't been any throws into the outfield. So that's a plus. I really
Kurt Suzuki power up.
Yeah, I really feeling
Pokemon.
I know he's a Cal State Fullerton alum, and we have 3 catchers on the team that are like that. But I think Kurt's one we got to cut right now. I would be totally cool if we had Romine as the number 3 in the minors, and you have rolling with Stassi and Wallach at this point.
Yeah, Stassi's not going anywhere. He signed that 3-year, contract. So Stassi's the main guy.
Yeah.
Definitely, we know for sure Wallach could be definitely a backup role next year.
Absolutely.
And I know that's really forward thinking because we're just in May right now. But if it gets to the point where Wallach is completely outperforming Kurt Suzuki, and this is a mini audition, you could definitely see that maybe even in June or July, if Kurt Suzuki hits a very bad stumble point, big slump. So it's a good audition phase to have. I'm all for it. And defense, in a lot of ways, wins you championships and wins you games. And Wallach has done a great job of doing that. And calling games, come on. What was that? Was the Detmers no-hitter, his second game catching?
Yeah.
So good luck. Luck is on his side.
Yeah, because if you look at his resume so far as a starter or a player in the major leagues, the most games he's ever played is 23. So he's usually a September call-up like he was with Miami. Doesn't get too much playing time. So this is the earliest he's ever been up in the majors. So he's getting his, like you said, true audition. And if his bat comes around, because we've seen it, he's made solid contact, been robbed a few times, his average could be higher. So I'd like for him to take a little bit more walks, but that's just me critiquing him. I think him and Stassi together would be a great combination. You wouldn't feel a drop off as you do when Stassi decides, or they decide to give him a day off when you put Suzuki in the lineup.
You don't have to necessarily DFA Kurt Suzuki either. I mean, there's such a demand for catching. You could probably trade him for something.
Yeah, a veteran catcher who's been on some quality teams in years past. No one might say no to that situation if a team really needs a catcher. Like if the Angels were in a situation where Stassi and Suzuki were hurt and they needed to trade for somebody, like if this was trade deadline time and Suzuki would be somebody, I get any other team that needs to do that. So the when you're winning, the situations are limitless. And I think having a plethora of catchers is a good problem to have amongst a lot of other things with the Angels right now.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, Angels have some depth they haven't had in a long time.
Absolutely. And the name you brought up earlier that a lot of people liked in the minors was Stefanik. And you really can't see a place for him because of the names you named already. When Fletcher gets back, you got Duffy, you got Captain Jack, you got Velasquez, Wade. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, they've got depth, man.
Talking to Michael Stefanik when we were previously Halos Heaven, he has such a good head on his shoulders and he's a pro's pro at such a young age. And I'm at the point in my sports industry career where I'm starting to talk to players and interview players that are younger than me. So it makes me feel old each and every day. But Stefanik is a young kid, mid-20s. He can hit the ball. Yes, his defense needs to be worked on, but he can be somebody seriously down the line that can be a part of this Angels infield. And it's scary to think, but yes, he can't play right now because we have Mayfield and Wade and Velasquez, and the depth just grows with the Angels, and it sucks for him. But as an organization, it's a great problem to have.
Absolutely.
I think he might end up being a trade chip, but at the end of the day, we'll see. We really will see. But it's good to have a situation here where we have guys producing at the minor league level who have the opportunity to come up to the majors, have an impact, but can't because there's other guys at the major league level already having an impact. So,
yeah, it's going to make for an interesting decision-making time come trade deadline. Who do you add? Who do you going to part ways with? You've got names now, so it's going to be exciting. So, Fernando, what else do we have left? We've already previewed the Texas series and everything else like that. I think we're just about here at the end, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure to check us out on all our forms of social media. As Todd says, leave us a review. Let us know what you want us to fix. Let us know what we're doing right. Make sure to check out the pre- and post-game shows, once again, on all of our social media platforms. If it's a social media outlet, we're probably on it. And then make sure to check out Katella Chronicles. But I won't talk much about Katella Chronicles. I'll let the man, the myth, the legend.
First and foremost, it's great to be here with you guys. And this has been such an entertaining, hour plus of podcasting that we're able to do and just talk Angels baseball with so much success going on with the team right now. But yes, Katella Chronicles, we will be launching our site this Thursday, May the 19th. And that URL is going to be katellachronicles.wordpress.com. That's where you can check out all our articles, game recaps, commentary, opinions. Our podcast will also be going live on that day as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Katella_Chron. That's CHRON, because Chronicles could not fit on the Twitter maximum character space for your.
Fix it, Elon.
Yeah, Elon Musk better fix it. But yes, it's at Katella_Chron is our Twitter handle. So check us out there. But super excited to be working with you guys, or partnership with you guys, just talking Angels baseball and sharing a little content here and there for the viewers.
Yeah, we'll put links to that stuff when they go live on Thursday. So whenever you guys have podcasts for the first couple shows, we'll gladly plug you guys on our story and all that kind of stuff. We'll probably be cross-referencing some of their blogs. So head on over to halosandtheinfield.com as well. Whenever they post a blog up, we'll have links and all that. So, we're definitely going to have a two-way street going on here for quite a while, help them get off their feet. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure I speak on behalf of Todd as well. We had a good time, fun time talking Angels baseball. And hopefully you can teach us a little bit about some Ducks hockey when the time comes. And I know we got our Ducks guy, JT, so I'm sure he'll love to come on and talk Ducks as well.
Of course. And as always, the invitation for you guys to come on to the Katella Chronicles, regardless if it's Angels or once we get to Ducks time, you guys are always welcome on the show, and bring your fan base in there as well. If it's Twitter, Instagram, your website, however it rolls. Good news is always good news. So come on down, and we love to have you guys. And thanks again for tonight. It's been awesome.
Awesome. So
I'll call dibs when the Coyotes are playing the Ducks. I'm a Coyotes fan, so I'll talk Coyotes with you.
Okay, we'll pencil that in on the schedule when it comes out this summer. Let's roll.
All right, there we go. Yeah, we'd love to be a part of
the only Coyotes fans out there.
Yeah, right. The one that actually claims it. But we'll definitely be on the show, and we enjoyed the podcast, and hopefully we can work together here soon on some more stuff. And so this has been Halos in the Infield, talking Angels baseball. It's good to be 11 games up, and let's see what happens in Texas. Take care, everybody.